We want to turn now back to the campaign trail with a deeper look at one of the most important voting blocs in this election, young men in battleground states. In our latest Deciders Focus Group in collaboration with Engagious, Syracuse University and Sago, we heard from a group of male voters under 30 from the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. As both our sessions showed, whether it was with voters leaning towards Harris or Trump, the dominant theme was the former president himself. Take a listen.
How'd you end up with Harris?
I think the endorsement of Kamala Harris seems more like a rejection of Donald Trump, and the rejection of Donald Trump in the current Republican Party comes from like a few, either you call them beliefs or topics that I feel strongly about, like LGBT rights, reproductive rights. So it makes it impossible to support anyone currently in the Republican Party.
John, what about you?
I feel like it's just Kamala Harris is like a step in the right direction, even if it is like a small step. I extremely dislike MAGA politics, and a lot of the Republican Party is like basically that extremeness, and I dislike it a lot. And I feel like Kamala Harris would just be. It does kind of fall into like the lesser of the two evils, but I feel like there's a little bit more promise with her.
How'd you end up with Trump? Like, what was the process in your mind? How'd you get there?
Yeah, I think for me, at the end of it, I was looking at it, honestly speaking, like selfishly, if which president's going to actually make my life better, whether it's as economically, in terms of curbing inflation or better job opportunities or tax breaks. I was just able to look at objectively which president's going to have a closer achievement to be able to help my life become better economically.
Joining me now is Margaret Talev, director of Syracuse University's Institute for Democracy, Journalism, and Citizenship, and one of the minds behind these focus groups. Margaret, I love these focus groups. I mean, they are really the best indication that we have of where voters' minds are at any given time. What were your key takeaways hearing from these male voters from Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's so interesting. And you're right. I mean, we all want to know about this group. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Donald Trump was hoping he could make inroads with young men who are not white. Kamala Harris has focused much more on a message that appeals to women, but obviously wants as many men to vote for her as well. One of the clearest differences, and you saw it in some of these clips, was the idea that men who are leaning towards Trump like Trump. Men who are leaning towards Harris dislike Trump. They are not like, oh my God, Kamala Harris is the greatest thing that I've ever seen, or I'm excited or enthusiastic about her. And to be sure, by the way, there are voters who are voting for Trump and are enthusiastic about it. There are male voters who are voting for Kamala Harris and are enthusiastic about it. But in this particular group, which is sort of skeptical voters who are still in the lean phase, it became very clear that Harris's best argument to win them is not necessarily that she is the candidate of their dreams. It is that she is the alternative to Donald Trump, who actually can get elected.
And you say something, I think, important, which is that they're still not 100% decided. It's like where they're leaning right now. Do you get the sense that some of these opinions could shift even more just in listening to this focus group?
You know, it's really hard to see a complete swing. At this point in the race, if you're really leaning towards Donald Trump, it's highly unlikely you're going to change your mind and go all the way to Harris and vice versa. Most of the voters that you would put in the undecided bucket, I think, are trying to decide whether to vote at all or whether to vote for a third-party candidate. But there are some who really are trying to decide between the two major party candidates. And when they are, it tends to revolve around a couple of questions: the economy, reproductive rights, and the sort of chaos, how do you conduct yourself personally? And the choices break down pretty clearly. People who are financially driven and believe that things would be better with Donald Trump are leaning towards Trump. There are also people who are concerned about the economy, but they think this is a post-COVID economy and that Donald Trump wouldn't make it any different. But for many of these voters, they're trying to balance, and we see this with women too, but it's a little different with the male voters. They're trying to balance. Men are not going to have to decide whether they ever need to have an abortion, but they believe in personal autonomy, the ability to make decisions about your own body or their sister, girlfriend, wife's ability to make those decisions. But they also need to pay the rent, to put food on the table, to save. And they don't know if Trump can do it, but they remember they had more money in their pocket then, less money in their pocket now. That's all kind of in the soup of what they're trying to decide.
Yeah, economy continues to be the top issue. Our poll showing Trump leads on that issue, but she has been narrowing the gap on that. Yes, Margaret Talev, thank you so much. It's always great to see you. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.